Welcome to PLUSone, the series where I look at the free monthly games on PlayStation Plus and tell you if they're worth the download. After all, the games may be free, but your time is valuable. Today I'm looking at one of March's free PlayStation 3 games, a 2015 fighting game named Under Night In Birth EXE Late. What's with Japan and all the ridiculous names? Does anybody know? Seriously? Developed by Studio French Brit. I'm starting to see a pattern here. The game mechanically is probably most comparable to popular fighting games like Guilty Gear and BlazBlue. If you're not familiar with either of those games, Under Night is a fast-paced 2D fighting game featuring seemingly hand-drawn characters. The game actually looks and sounds pretty good, although for some reason some characters have some noticeable jaggies, which I wouldn't have expected out of a 2D art style like this. The character designs are all pretty different from one another, although they all certainly have a good amount of edge. Most importantly, every character seems to play pretty differently. There's a great variety of movesets here. Some characters seem to have unique sub-mechanics all to themselves, such as this character who has a gun with what looks to be a bullet meter under her health bar, or another character who has a tiger lizard thing as a stand. I'm not sure how that works. Like a lot of Japanese fighting games, there's not really much by way of tutorial here, but that's cool to see nevertheless. The game has a relatively low learning curve outside of those sub-mechanics though. Within a few matches I found myself executing long stretching juggles and feeling pretty at home with the controls. Like many fighting games, there's a light, medium, and heavy attack button, as well as special moves that can be executed using specific directional inputs like a quarter circle or a half circle or what have you. The game also has a special meter which can be used to do a powered up EX move of certain moves, or it can be saved up across multiple rounds for a damaging super move. There's also this meter at the bottom which does something, I'm not really sure what. If I continue playing the game, I'll look up what it does, but for the purposes of this review, I felt it was important to stress that I couldn't figure out what it did. Nevertheless, it can be charged using the X button, and that meter is shared between both characters, so there's some sort of tug-of-war mechanic hidden somewhere in there. In general, the game seems to really reward an aggressive playstyle, as I noticed that some attacks seem to do more damage if you built momentum and performed several attacks without being hit, but maybe that's just a placebo effect. Again, based on the first hour or so of playing the game, you won't really figure that out. Now, if that all sounds complex to you non-fighting game players, it's not really. The game can be played relatively well just by screwing around and figuring out what you're doing on the fly, as with no tutorial, that's really the only way you're going to be learning here. With a friend, it's actually really fun, especially if you go in blind. If you're playing alone, there's a story-based arcade mode for each character where they sort of explain the plot. It's something to do with some demonic night affecting parts of Japan every month and the characters are trying to stop it. It doesn't really matter. All you really need to know is that the plot is filled to the brim with edge. On top of that arcade mode, there's a survival mode where you beat as many enemies as you can on one health bar, a time attack mode, a score attack mode, and online play. Surprisingly, there are still some people playing this game online, although you can expect to get destroyed if you play ranked without searching what some of those sub-mechanics do. There are also collectibles like special pictures, online nameplates, usual fighting game stuff. That's about it really. Oh wait, hold on, one more thing. The game loves to have these tiny long-ass monologues during loading screens and transitions between rounds. I just kind of find that really funny because there's no chance you can read these in time with how quickly this game loads. They're not super important, they just look like dark, moody blurbs to help draw you into the dark theming the game has going on. They gather under this night, the false oh, okay, I wasn't really trying to read that, that's fine. That's fine. With 16 characters, a ton of unique recolors for each character, and a good variety of stages, if you enjoy fighting games even a little bit, this is definitely a game you should plus one to your collection. It's certainly not the best fighting game out there, but it's surprisingly fun. It's only 2 GB as well, so it's actually a pretty small download, and it's a full game too, currently priced at $40, so there's a platinum trophy and everything for completionists. I certainly wouldn't pay that full price though. The game's already a couple years old, and I don't think there's too much of an active community, so $40 is probably a stretch if you can't pick it up while it's still free. Thanks for watching. If you liked the video, be sure to hit the like button and share it with your friends, and if you want to find out if more of this month's free games are worth a spot on your system, be sure to subscribe.